Hey y'all, Sean here. Welcome to Trending in the Afternoon. Well, today we're going to take a look at this video that's all over social media right now with Kamala Harris pretty much giving a sermon from the pulpit of New Birth Baptist Church down in Atlanta, Georgia. She did a stop there. Of course, we're drawing closer to election day, and so her and Donald Trump, they're making a lot of stops, a lot of different places, and she's making a heavy push down there in Georgia because Georgia is supposed to be a swing state or something like that. But for me, look, I'm going to play the video and I'm going to watch the video with you. But for me, I don't even feel like there's any swing voter right now. People say, well, I'm a swing voter. They're really not. Everybody know exactly who they are voting for. I think this is the one time, the one election, everybody know exactly who they're voting for. So I don't really believe in swing voting this year or this election. But she was down in Georgia and Atlanta, and she made a pit stop. And look, I feel like I have something to say about it. So let's watch this video because, look, this is about to get wild. All right, let's take a watch.
So all of this is to say it is so good to be here with everyone today and to worship with you. And on this day, then I am reminded with everything that we reflect on the parable from the Gospel of Luke. So in the gospel, we are told of a man who traveled from the road from Jerusalem to Jericho. And while traveling, he was attacked by robbers. We remember he was beaten. He was bloodied. They left him for dead. He was someone that should just be passed on by, maybe with a glance of pity, but not more. So one person passed by, sees the man lying in his path, and walks around him, not wanting to be bothered or obstructed on the path that he decided to walk. A second man does the same. But then a Samaritan walks by. He sees the man and he stops. The Samaritan bandages the stranger's wounds. He brings him to an inn, gives him shelter and a hot meal, and he saves the man's life. This parable, the parable of the Good Samaritan, teaches us to love thy neighbor as thyself. These words are simple. We know them well.
Okay.
It is an essential tenet and a pillar of our faith and that of so many others. However, one must ask, are all people of faith living those words? Are all people of faith expressing those words in their actions? Do we have leaders in place who understand that in the face of a stranger, one should see a neighbor?
Keep on preaching.
And I'll tell you, I grew up in a church that took those words to heart. As a little girl on Sundays, my sister Maya and I would go to 23rd Avenue Church of God in Oakland, California, where we sang in the children's choir, we attended Sunday school, and where after church we would go to the basement and eat a food prepared by loving hands. And where I first learned the teachings of the Bible, and my earliest memories of those teachings are about a loving God. A loving God. A God who asks us to speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, and to defend the rights of the poor and the needy. And for me, like for so many of us, church is then a place of growth and belonging and community, a place where we are reminded of the incredible power of faith and fellowship.
Okay.
And in moments of difficulty and uncertainty, When the way is not clear, it is our faith that then guides us forward. Faith in what we often cannot see, but we know to be true. Faith in what we cannot see, but know to be true. And I say that because in this moment, across our nation, what we do see are some who try to deepen division among us, spread hate, sow fear, and cause chaos. There are those who suggest that the measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down, instead of what we know, which is the true measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you lift up.
Let me pause right there. The strength of a leader is based on who you lift up. I don't see her lifting Donald Trump up. Everywhere she goes, she's consistently, continually tearing down Donald Trump. So what are we saying? What are we saying? Let's continue watching.
And with sincerity in that approach. This is a moment that is challenging us of faith to reflect on this moment in the context of our future. We just applauded the young leaders who are here this morning. And I think so much of this moment in the context of them are young leaders and what they have a right to expect and what their faith teaches them that gives them rightly a sense of hope about where they belong, who they are, and what they can be. And so this is a moment that is challenging, I think, our fundamental values and challenging us as Americans and as people of faith. And as the Good Samaritan reminds us, it is not enough to preach the values of compassion and respect. We must live them. Faith is a verb. Faith is a verb. We show it in action, in our deeds and in our service. Here in Georgia, we've seen it playing out in real time in just the last many weeks, where communities have come together in the wake of Hurricane Helene. Right here in the Atlanta area, I saw the story of a reporter who was outside covering the storm, live on television when he heard some screams. Everything.
Keep going.
Waded into chest-deep water to rescue a woman in her car, carrying her on his back to safety. In a town a few hours from here, one mother and her children lost power for days. And as soon as it was restored, they started a relief drive, distributing food, water, and supplies, and opened their home to neighbors in need of laundry or a hot shower. On a visit recently to Augusta, I met people who themselves had experienced extraordinary loss and devastation. Many who did not have electricity or running water. Yet every day they left their homes to go to relief centers to help perfect strangers. So what we have seen here in Georgia and in other states is faith in action. Individuals who know their power to shed light in a moment of darkness. We have seen the Good Samaritans walking among us. And for that reason, I say, as the scripture tells us, we then must remember that and not be weary. Let us not be weary in moments like this. Let us focus on what God shows us about the Good Samaritans walking among us to remind us of the power, the agency, the ability, and dare I say the duty that we have to come to another's aid in moments of need, to love thy neighbor. And what God is showing us is that any of us can do that no matter who we are. And I know, and I learned this at a young age. And actually, I'll share with you a quick story. So during my final year of law school, I was a summer intern in the DA's office in Oakland, California. And I was working in the Superior Courthouse. And there was this one case that I got, and it involved a drug bust. And the police had arrested a number of people, including an innocent bystander, a woman who had been in the wrong place at the wrong time. And when I got the case, it was a late Friday afternoon. And most folks had gone home for the weekend, and I knew in all likelihood the judge would probably not see her case until that following Monday, which would have meant that she would have had to spend the whole weekend in jail. Now, this woman had children. She is a mother. She had children at home, and I wondered if they knew that their mother had been arrested, who would take care of them. If she could not, would Child Protective Services come and take those children? Everything was on the line for that woman. So I rushed to the clerk of the court and asked them to have the case called that day. And then when that did not work, I pleaded with them. Remember, I was not vice president. I was an intern. So yes, I pleaded. And finally, the judge returned to the bench and reviewed her case. And with a pound of his gavel, she was free to go home. And she would go home to see her children and take care of them. And I never did get the chance to meet that woman, but I will never forget that moment. And I share that story to say that we have all in our lives, from the earliest stages of our lives, had those moments where it has been revealed to us our power.
Y'all, let me tell you, her and Barack Obama is the greatest play on emotions politicians I've ever seen. This right here is a play she just ran. Another thing that I got to say about this story is, so the woman was in the wrong place at the wrong time, right? So all the men got thrown in prison and the woman got released. How you know that? How you know she was in the wrong place at the wrong time? She was probably a part of that entire group, because they do that. They have women there, they got men in there, look, a lot of women are involved in these type of activities, these drug activities as well. But she gave the woman a pass, didn't give none of the men a pass. All of them got thrown into jail. See, this is what we've been talking about as black men. We you know what? Let's continue watching, y'all, because I don't want to get too deep. I want y'all to watch this, but she's playing on emotions. She is playing a ace of spade game on emotions.
And I never did get the chance to meet that woman, but I will never forget that moment. And I share that story to say that we have all in our lives, from the earliest stages of our lives, had those moments where it has been revealed to us our power. And we should never let anyone take our power from us, or in any way try to convince us we are powerless.
That's what the Democrats do.
And so I say, as we move forward, let us look at where we are and understand the lesson of the Gospel of Luke. Because right now, each of us has an opportunity to make a difference. In this moment, our country is at a crossroads. And where we go from here is up to us, as Americans and as people of faith. And now we ask a question. We face this question. What kind of country do we want to live in? A country of chaos, fear, and hate, or a country of freedom, compassion, and justice? And the great thing about living in a democracy is that we, the people, have the power to answer that question. So let us answer, not just through our words, but through our action and with our votes. When we come across our brothers and sisters in need, let us, as the Good Samaritan did, see in the face of a stranger a neighbor. And let us recognize that when we shine the light in moments of darkness, it will guide our feet into the path of peace. And let us remember that while weeping may endure for a night, joy cometh in the morning.
That's it, y'all. That's it. That's it, man. I've heard enough. I have heard enough. let me break down a few things to you. I'm going to take it back. I'm going to backtrack a few things, right? So Kamala Harris said, here's one of the things that she said. We don't want a country that, you know, is filled with hate and this and that and that and that. And she's talking about freedom. You know, a part of her campaign is built on selling people, you know, freedom. But the Democrats have nothing to do with freedom. They're the ones who want to take your freedom away. They're the ones who has been implementing censorship. Look, the Republicans are the ones who are about free speech, y'all. Have y'all missed that? Y'all forgot about that? The Republicans are all about free speech. The Democrats are not. They're here to take away your freedom to speak or express yourself. Now, this right here is disgusting to see politicians out here, you know, speaking a sermon pretty much on a stage in a church. Now, if I see Donald Trump in a white church somewhere, I would speak heavily on that as well. I don't want to see any politicians on stage in a church, on a pulpit, doing a sermon. I don't want to see that. No politician, black or white. I don't want to see any politician on stage. I'm used to seeing politicians coming in the church, sitting down in the front row. That's totally fine. Do what you want to do, but leave the church pulpit alone, y'all. Leave it alone. You don't see the Jews putting politicians on their pulpit. You don't see the Muslims putting politicians. They will never do that. You crazy? You must be out of your mind. That's not going to happen. Not now, not never. And Christianity is the only religion that, goddamn, there are a million different versions of the Bible. But other religions, they stick to one Bible. One thing, one book. Christianity, highly compromised to the point where politicians can now come in church and speak a sermon to the congregation. Y'all don't see anything wrong with that? Stop getting tricked by these people. I know it's politrick season where a lot of tricks and a lot of cards get played, and that's okay, but stay off the pulpit. Keep them pastors. If there's any pastor watching this right now, keep these politicians off your pulpit. Invite them to the church. It's totally fine, but do not let them touch the holy stage of God. Look, and it's not that black men don't want to vote for a woman. That's wrong. So if y'all feel like black men don't want to vote for, that's wrong. Because if it was Michelle Obama, we would have been having an entirely different conversation. Black men just don't trust Kamala. That's it. Point blank, period. Hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed the show. See you in the next video.